One day, everything looks dead. Everything looks like it's still in the cold, wintry grip of the cold season. It doesn't look like life would even be possible. And then in a matter of 1 or 2 days, we say spring has sprung. And everywhere you look, there was once death, now it's life. Everything was dark, now it's bright green and beautiful and putting forth new shoots and new flowers and blossoms. And the world changes overnight. Well, now, what does this have to do with deliberative dialogue? It means that in the beginning, the teaching has to be in a form of monologue. Because in the beginning of this thing, only one man knew anything to say. What could a dead man say? He ain't got nothing to say. In the beginning of this process, this black man and woman in America didn't know nothing about nothing. So how could they engage in dialogue? No, you just tell them what you want them to know. You just tell them where you want them to go. You just give them an order. And then put some strength behind it to see to it that they carry it out. And whatever thought or opinion they might have about it really doesn't count, because what does it matter what a dead man thinks? But now, if we really believe in the process of resurrection, if we really have witnessed an ongoing storm of wisdom, knowledge, and understanding raining down on a people for more than 70 years, well, you would have to be an absolute disbeliever in the resurrection to think that after 70 years, the dead are still dead. Just because some of them might still look dead. But if you look a little closer, you'll see signs of life. A little bud here, a little shoot there, a little flower there. Signs of life that the heavens have rained down supreme wisdom on a dead people, and now they are stirring and they are swelling with that great wisdom that has been imparted to them. So now the teaching can shift into another paradigm, away from monologue into dialogue. See, Allah says in the Holy Quran, call on me and I will answer you. And so he goes on to say, and he who disdains my favor will enter into hell abased. Well, yes, this is prayer. This is the duty of all Muslims, is to engage in prayer service, to render a prayer unto Allah at least 5 times a day. And he doesn't leave it to us to invent a prayer. He gives us the words of the prayer that we're supposed to say. And you should always do that. But then after being engaged in the dialogue of prayer in a very formal way, then we get to a point, as the Bible says, pray constantly and faint not. For the truly righteous person is not only praying at the 5 designated times of the day, but the truly righteous person is in constant dialogue with God. Constant conversation with the God. Constant questioning and answering with the God. And the God says, call on me and I will answer you. Because no matter how insignificant you might look to yourself, you are not insignificant to God. He wants to hear from you. He wants you to call on him. He wants to engage you in conversation. He wants to engage you in dialogue, because through that dialogue, he can elevate you to that station that he has in mind for you. He don't intend for you to be equal with the other people of the earth. He don't want to make you the equal to your former slave masters and their children. He's not pushing for integration. He don't want you to be like the old world Muslims. He wants to engage you in a dialogue to elevate you above all the nations. When he came for you, he didn't come for you to leave you the same. He came for you to make you the new rulers of a new world of Islam, of a new civilization that he's bringing on the earth. So, what should we do? We should take a good look at one another. See, in a monologue, see, a man or a woman, whoever the speaker is, stands up in front. So now where are all the eyes? Focus on the one person who got the microphone. See, in the monologue, it's like, I got the microphone, brother. I get to talk and you don't. And sometimes that creates the impression that the one with the microphone is the only one that got something to say. And sometimes the one with the microphone is messing up all over the place. And you sitting there and you know better than that. And a thought comes in your mind that really needs to be expressed, but you don't have no microphone. So we got to take another look at one another. Look at one another. See, I don't mean to cause you embarrassment. And as righteous people, we're not to stare at one another, in some rude way. But sometimes we need to take stock of one another. We need a way of looking one another over. I don't mean look over one another. Look one another over. In other words, do an assessment, because what you will find that over this period of the raining down of God's wisdom, knowledge, and understanding on us as a people, we have absorbed a whole lot of his wisdom. And now it is time for that wisdom to be made manifest to one another through one another. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us that we were being raised up to be a nation of gods. Is that right? Ruled over by a God who is supreme over all the other gods, but every member of the nation is actually a God. I found it in Our Savior Has Arrived. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that every Muslim is an Allah. Did you know that? That you are an Allah? You aren't the Allah, but you're in Allah. Well, now that presents a problem, a divine dilemma. How is a nation of gods to rule itself without any God overruling another God, abridging the rights and the privileges, or ignoring the wisdom of any of the gods? See, if we want to set up some kind of a dictatorship, you say, well, then we don't have to pay any attention to you. We don't have to pay any attention to what you think or what you know or what you have a feeling about. Just get in line. Just do what you're told. Nobody told you to think. See, that's disrespectful of people. That's disrespectful of who and what people really are. They really are gods. And so they have to be handled in a way that is considerate of the true nature of who and what they are. It's like your children. When they're very, very young, you can't give them liberties. Is that right? You got to keep an iron grip on them because they're young and foolish. And they'll get into trouble, and for their own good, you got to keep a lock hold on them and restrict them in everything and keep your eye on them in everything because they're so young and immature. They don't understand the world. They don't understand who they are. They don't understand life. And you have to be there as the mother or the father, the protecting friend of that child. But then a problem comes up in the household as maturity begins to emerge in those children. Doesn't mean that they're grown yet, but they have a degree of maturity. They begin to form their own identity. They begin to form their own ideas. They begin to have their own mind. And some parents who don't understand the process of growth and maturation, they get upset because their daughter has a mind of her own. The son has a mind of his own. He don't necessarily agree with everything that the father says. Doesn't always agree with what the mother says. Well, this is not excusing disrespect on anybody's part. No child should ever become disrespectful to the parents. But sometimes children do become disrespectful because they have never been taught a way to communicate with their parents in a respectful, honest, open way. Sometimes the rules in the household are so harsh that if the child expresses their true opinion, they get knocked upside the head. And so then that child shuts down and goes inside of themselves. And they begin to feel frustration or anxiety. And they begin to harbor resentment against the parents because they're not given a free, open way of expressing themselves, of being their own person, of developing into the way that God has created them to be. Are you following what I'm saying? See, it can happen in churches that way too. It can happen in schools. It can happen in mosques. It can happen in all the institutions in society where it is set up in such a way that is suppressive and oppressive to the natural growth and development of people. And oftentimes, those in leadership, those in charge, why are they doing that? Because they're concerned about control. They're concerned about security. They're concerned about everything being orderly. Nobody wants confusion. Nobody wants conflict. But on the other hand, if you suppress the natural growth and talent and creativity in people, then you are hurting yourself in the long run because you don't get the benefit of what each member of that society has to offer. Am I making any sense at all? That's why deliberative dialogue is so important. It is the means by which we can all get along and express ourselves with freedom, justice, and equality without a fight breaking out. See, look around at one another again. Really look. See that sister? See that brother? See, look all around the room. Look all around the nation. Maybe one of these days we'll have the technology so we'll be able to see every mosque, every study group around the nation, around the world. We'll be able to see all of our people. Now let me ask you a question now that you've looked at one another again. What do you see when you gaze upon your brother or your sister? See, in one sense, if you're seeing with the eyesight of God, you're seeing another aspect of yourself. When you look at your brother or your sister, you're looking at someone that you probably, under these circumstances that we're living, the real circumstances under which we're living right now, you're looking at someone that you hardly know. And some of us have been coming to a mosque or a school or a church. We live in a neighborhood, in an apartment building, and we see people, and we've been seeing them every day for years and years and years. But do we know them? Suppose everyone that you saw was your friend. See, that's what you warned your children against. Everybody out there ain't your friend. It was in the nature of the child to think that everyone in the world is my friend. But in this wicked world, nothing could be further from the truth. As a matter of fact, sometimes you have to be so protective of your children and yourself that you carry yourself like nobody's my friend. I don't trust nobody. Matter of fact, some Negroes have been heard to say, I don't like nobody and don't nobody like me. And they done twisted the golden rule into something, do unto others before others do unto you. So under that configuration, everybody in the whole world has become your enemy. And you have become the enemy of everybody. And we feel maybe that that's just the way it is. And we don't have no choice about it. But how can we turn this world around? How can we turn this society around and make it into the kingdom of God if we don't have a way of making everybody our friend? Now, we know by nature we're never going to make the devil our friend. Now, let's not get foolish now. Some of this wisdom that has rained down on us has made us to see clearly that the nature of God and the nature of the devil is not the same. And you'll never reform the devil. But we ain't talking about devils in here. We're talking about the righteous. We're talking about the family of God. We're talking about people who have been identified by God himself as his own family, who share his own divine nature. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't offend one another. It doesn't mean that we haven't made mistakes by one another. But through deliberative dialogue, we have a means and a method to overcome all of those problems, all of those difficulties, all of those frictions that tend to keep us apart. I think there's one more slide. I can hardly see it. Could I see the next one? Can you see that? What is that? That's an iceberg. And that's like some of us. Cold as ice, right? But now, what you see on top is about 1/9 of the iceberg. The part that's above the water is 1/9. 8/9 are submerged. That's how people are. See, now, if another iceberg came up to this iceberg and wanted to get close to the first iceberg, deep beneath the surface, there would be a mass of ice that would clash. There would be a disruption. And the tip of the one iceberg looking at the tip of the other iceberg way over there, but why don't you come closer? No, there's something deep beneath the surface that is in conflict, that is clashing, that is producing a disruption, and I can't come closer. And so we see one another at a far distance, but the intimacy that we desire and crave and need, because the human being is created as a social being. You're never created to be by yourself, to be alone, to be friendless, to be without a family. You never were created by Allah to be an individual by yourself, divorced from the world. You are created to be with one another, intimate with one another. But there's so much stuff that's beneath the surface that comes out of your childhood experiences and experiences in life, emotional baggage, all kinds of things that are maybe even on the subconscious level that prevent you from really getting close to any other human being. So in your marriage, you're not as close as you want to be, as you need to be. In your family, you're not as close as you want to be or as you need to be. There's some work that needs to be done, but the people that you need to be a teammate with, you can't get close enough with them. There's something interfering with that process of coming together. All praise is due to Allah. You've heard a teaching that we should be in unity together. And we know that our unity is more powerful than nuclear bombs, but there's something beneath the surface that's interfering with us getting close together. So we need a method, don't we, that overcomes that hidden resistance. That's why we need it. Final point, and I'm sorry I don't have a slide to illustrate this. There are 3 things that we must have in order to be ready to engage in deliberative dialogue. And those 3 things, number 1, are we have to be totally clear about our identity. See, your image, your reputation, your title is not your true identity. See, that's one of those things that's preventing true communication, true brotherhood, true sisterhood. You aren't clear about your identity. That's why God himself had to come and tell us who we are. Who is the original man? The original man is the Asiatic black man, the maker, the owner, the cream of the planet Earth, the God of the universe. That's your true identity. Your true title is Muslim. You are of the righteous people. So you have to work on that now, because otherwise that's just a surface teaching. That's just some of the rainwater that hit the earth and then just ran off and didn't get absorbed. So you now have to go back into those basic teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and find out within yourself and realize within yourself who you really are. So when you are really clear that you are Muslim, that you are a God, that you are of the righteous, that you are of the family of God, and ditch all of the false IDs. You ain't no nigger. You ain't no member of a gang. They call us everything but a child of God. So well, all those other names are not our names. So ditch that, get rid of that, because if you're carrying that into the dialogue process, that's what's going to prevent you from being successful. True identity is number one. Number two, relationships. See, who are you in relation to yourself and in relationship to God is primary identity, but who are you in relationship to others? See? Well, you're a brother or a sister. What governs the relationship between brothers and sisters? Well, the rule of Islam says that a Muslim is not a Muslim unless he or she wants for his brother or his sister that which he wants for himself. See, that's like the golden rule that we learned in the church. Do unto others as you would have others do unto you. That's the kind of relationships that you want to have. You want to be a brother among brothers. You want to be a sister among sisters. Or do you? Or do you want to be an overlord? You want to be a big bad nigger. And you want to be hard on other people. See, what kind of relationships do you want? Do you want a sweet relationship or a sour one? Do you like honey or do you like salt and vinegar? See, what kind of relationship? Well, if we agree that we must be brothers and we must be sisters and we must be nice and good and respectful, that we must acknowledge one another and we must bow to one another and be in submission to the righteousness of one another and be conscious of the needs of one another and be helpful to one another. That's the kind of relationship that we want to have, that is mutually uplifting, mutually respectful. Then the third element is information, knowledge, learning. What must be done with information in a relationship? It must be shared. See, if you got a marriage and the husband got secrets that he won't tell his wife, see, what kind of marriage do you have? See, the hiding of information poisons the relationship. And it changes the identity. You see how that works? If I meet my brother and I see from my brother's behavior or his condition that there's a problem there, and I have the knowledge of how to deal with that problem, what should I do? I should share the knowledge with my brother. I should pull his coat and show him what I know to the best of my ability, because if my brother has a problem and I'm in proper relationship with my brother, I got a problem too. Long as he got a problem, I got a problem. As soon as I solve his problem, then I'm solving my own. And since you have a problem, see, it ain't just your brother or your sister that got a problem. You got a problem, don't you? Don't you? It ain't just your brother or your sister that has a need. You have a need. So then, what would you expect from your brother and your sister in regards to your need? That if they have the solution to your problem, to your need, you would hope that somebody would pull your coat and share what they know with you. Well now, if God and his messenger and their minister have been raining down wisdom on us for 70 years, and we've been soaking it up, don't tell me you haven't been soaking it up. Because so some of you got every tape that the minister ever made. You can't even open the closet in your house. It'll be an avalanche of tapes coming out. You go to work with the tape on. You come home with the tape on. You got a little Walkman, got the tape going. You've been doing this for how long? For years. So now it's soaked in. We could actually call you SpongeBob Muhammad. You done soaked up so much wisdom. You're saturated with it. You're like a sponge that's so full that it's just dripping, and you just wish somebody would squeeze you. That's what deliberative dialogue is going to do. It's going to squeeze us. And when the process of dialogue squeezes us, guess what's going to come out? Not our wisdom, not our knowledge, not our understanding, but that which has been raining down on us for over 70 years. So we got problems as individuals? Yes, we do. We have problems in our marriages. We have problems in our families. Got problems in the church, problems in the mosque, problems in the school, problems in the community, problems in the world. Ain't no mystery about that. But guess what? We got the solutions too. We just don't know yet that we got the solutions too. But through the process of deliberative dialogue, you put the problem or the situation or the topic or the question or whatever it is on the table. And then following the rules of deliberative dialogue, then a group of people gathered together in the name of God, in the name of Allah. Through that process of deliberative dialogue, pretty soon, each one making their contribution to the dialogue process, engages a law, which we'll go into maybe next week, called the law of synergy. Simply stated, the law of synergy means that the sum is equal to more, I'm sorry, I said it backwards. The whole is equal to more than the sum of the parts. The whole is equal to more than the sum of the parts. And so you bring your little bit of knowledge that don't look like much, you put it on the table. This one brings hers, he brings his, this one brings his, she brings hers, and it starts to build up. And then what ultimately results is something that no individual knew individually, but when they all put it together, boom, now a new principle of truth emerges. A higher level of understanding emerges, and what was once a problem now has a solution. Where there were separate minds, separate interests, separate purposes, now there is unity. Because when we can wrap our minds around a principle of truth and come to consensus on that truth, then we have removed all reasonable opposition. Now you have created a group that is no longer disparate and disunited. Now you have a group that has achieved consensus, and in the consensus, perfect unity. And when they make a decision to do something, to act on the basis of their consensus, now their action becomes invincible. Do you know what invincibility means? It's one of the characteristics of God. He is invincible. It doesn't mean that there couldn't be opposition to God, but whatever opposition there is will not stand. And so when a group of people unite on the basis of deliberative dialogue and arrive at consensus and take a decision and then take action on the basis of that consensus, they become invincible. They have nullified the possibility of defeat. They have nullified the possibility of lack of success. They have assured and guaranteed for themselves complete success and unlimited progress. All praise is due to Allah. So now, let me wrap up, and Brother Michael's going to come forward to give a brief introduction on the science of management, because it's one thing to come up with solutions. What you'll find in the dialogue process, that's easy, to come up with the solution in words. But now how do you translate words into effective action? That's the science of management. So you don't need one without the other, you need both. Now, for all of the believers who are becoming a part of this expanding, spreading circle of dialogue, we had a wonderful dialogue conference recently on the farm that you heard about. But there was a lot of preparation that the student laborers went through in order to qualify to be at the farm. And let's face it now, if you're going to be on the same page, you've got to go through the same preparation. If they went a certain way and it was successful, you got to go the same way, otherwise you won't be successful. You can't skip any steps. You got to go through the same thing. So if you go to the website, write this down, www.atonementcommission.com. That's atonementcommission.com. You will find all of the preparatory steps that were taken by the student laborers in preparation for the conference on the farm. That's what you have to do. You have to go through 8 training videos. See, here's the way I am. I don't like to repeat myself. So a lot of the basics of deliberative dialogue, they're on that website. I'm sort of like Miles Davis was in music. Everybody wanted Miles to play the old songs. He said, go get my records. I ain't there no more. Every time I play something new. So I don't like going back over material that has already been put out there. So go look at, there's 4 training videos on deliberative dialogue, and there's 4 training videos on management. This series on Tuesday evenings is a continuation, and there will be some overlap with what is on those videos on the website, to be sure, but it's moving in a whole new direction. So go through that material that's on the website. Also on the website, you will find the Commissioner's Workbook. It is in the process of being revised, but it's good enough for you to take a look at right now and go through the workbook sessions and try to deal with the questions that are there in that workbook. And remember, it's named what? Workbook. Why is it called workbook? Because it's work. It's not for the lazy reader. It's work. So approach it with that attitude that you're going to work. But what kind of work is it? It's divine work, and it's work that has to do with improving our Nation of Islam. You also find a brief manual on deliberative dialogue. So you've heard us talking about dialogue. Well, a lot of these things that we're saying has been written down in a little book, and you'll find that on the website as well. And so it would be very good for you to read through that book so that you become a scholar on the science of deliberative dialogue, so that when we come back on these Tuesdays, you won't be completely in the dark about what we're talking about, and we don't have to lose a whole lot of time going back to something that we already covered. You all right with that? See, keep in mind what the lesson said about that lion in the cage walking back and forth at 60 feet per minute. Then at a certain point with modern equipment, he starts making 3,000 feet per minute, which means that now the lion is moving 50 times faster than he was before. Go do some mathematical calculations and see what it means to move 50 times faster. A man walking down the street 3 miles an hour. 50 times faster is 150 miles an hour. That's a bullet train. A man running as fast as he can run, that's 10 or 12 miles an hour. 50 times faster, that's 500 or 600 miles an hour. That's a jet plane. See, that's the speed that the Nation of Islam is getting ready to move at. 50 times faster. So you don't want to be slow moving, slow thinking, do you? No, when the pace picks up 50 times, you want to be able to keep pace with the pace. So brothers and sisters, I thank you for these few moments where we attempted to introduce the basic concept and need of deliberative dialogue. When we come back next week, inshallah, we're going to get into a more practical mode of exactly how this is done and the proper techniques of doing it, the rules, the roles, the responsibilities, the purposes of deliberative dialogue, so that then when you leave out of here next week, you'll be able to use some of it to immediately start solving some of your problems. Is that right? So I thank you for your patience. Now, without any further delay, we're going to have a brief introduction into the management science. Let's welcome with a round of applause, Brother Michael Muhammad.
Assalamu alaikum. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, the All-Wise, the True and Living God, the Sender of all prophets, the Revealer of all truth. We thank Allah for His coming in the person of Master Farad Muhammad, and we thank Allah for raising from among us the most honorable Elijah Muhammad to serve as His messenger to us and our exalted Christ. And we thank them both for giving us a divine leader, teacher, and guide, and comforter, and reminder in the person of the Honorable Louis Farrakhan. And I greet you again. Assalamu alaikum. So brothers and sisters, this is a tough task. You know that, right? So bear with me. I've never